Joanie Thresher. How are you doing today, Joanie?
I'm doing great, Ann. Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
And I tell you what, you're a busy person.
Yes, ma'am. The troops are busy, so we are as well.
Well, I tell you what, you were in, what did you tell me? You were in, you did a talk this morning. You went up to Greenville. You got a pallet of candy in the van?
We do indeed. Thanks to the great support we get in upstate South Carolina, I'm loaded down to go back to Columbia and take good care of the troops.
Now, just for the record, gosh, the USO, that should be something that is sponsored by our government, isn't it?
Well, we would think so, but it is not. No, if it wasn't for the generosity of everyone here in the Columbia and South Carolina, upstate, low country, and throughout the country, for the USA, for all purposes, we couldn't do what we do for the troops and their families.
Wow. So that means that you've got all different organizations and individuals contributing to this.
That is correct. If it wasn't, it's not just corporations. It's yourself today allowing us to be on this show. It's individuals, it's churches, schools, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, you name it. It's wonderful individuals taking care of each other.
Absolutely. Well, now the office actually is located at the Columbia Airport.
It is indeed. It is indeed. The Columbia Airport actually donates the space. They donate the electricity, the cable, the internet, everything that we have, they donate. So without
That's interesting, because usually they might donate the space, but you're on your own for the rest.
No, ma'am. They give us everything so that we can take care of troops.
Wow. Well, I am going on an honor flight May 23rd, and I understand that you all open up early and you're there when they come back.
That is correct. So we'll look forward to seeing you as well. We open bright and early, so the volunteers that are there to take care of the veterans and their sponsors and all the folks that are out there, so we're there for you all. We'll also be there when you come home that evening.
Wow, that is terrific. That's terrific. So now, Joanie Thresher, I understand you were in fashion merchandising.
I was. Yes, ma'am.
You can tell. You're a fashion merchandising type of person, Joanie.
You're very kind. Thank you, Miss Ann. Thank you.
You are. But how did you... And you were from Jacksonville originally?
I'm from Florida, born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida, and in that area we have a lot of Navy. Mm-hmm. So as a young child, Daddy and my mother always said, be careful and be kind to everybody you meet, because you just never know where you're going to end up in life, and here I am today with the USO.
Well, how'd you get from fashion merchandising into the USO?
Well, growing...
They were looking for a uniform designer, right?
Yeah, there you go. I always knew I couldn't be in the military because I like to change it up a little bit. So that wasn't for me on that side as far as wearing the uniform, but such respect, brought up with such respect for the military. The military I babysat for so many of the sailors around, and I just really got intrigued with what they do and how they do it. And then after 9/11, still in the industry of doing fashion design, fashion merchandising, and in the hotel industry for so long, I said, I've got to give back. And at that point, I found the USO, became a volunteer and very dedicated, and said, you know what, this is where I need to be. And I'm very fortunate that this is what I do every day.
Wow. So when you were growing up, though, before you got into fashion merchandising, what did you want to do?
You know, I always wanted to do something where I gave back. And I didn't know what that meant. So I tried candy striping. I did the Lions Club, did a lot of different things as far as community service in our neighborhood, but just never really found my way. So once I found the USO and understood it was more than just entertainment, because I cannot sing or dance, that I realized that I could actually do something that made a difference just by giving a hug or a shoulder or a smile to someone that needed it. That's where I came. So,
you know, most of the time when you think of the USO, you know, particularly somebody that's not 20, mm-hmm. you think of Bob Hope.
Amen. Yes.
And does the USO still do those type of shows?
Oh, absolutely. We still do. I mean, we're overseas constantly. Some of our biggest supporters are the Toby Keith, so many of our country western singers. I mean, we have singers from all over. Wayne Newton's a huge supporter still of the USO. So if it wasn't for
Wayne Newton, come on
Wayne
now.
Newton, he's still
out there. Is he wowing them over there still?
Well, you know, they appreciate all entertainment.
Any entertainment is good entertainment. Is that what you're telling me?
They appreciate all entertainment, but he's a great supporter in front of the USO. So we're still taking great shows, comedians, entertainers, sports folks, whether they be the players or the coaches. I mean, you bring it up, we're taking them over there. So we're entertaining those troops, making sure they know that they've not been forgotten. beautiful, folks as far as from our different pageants, whether they be the young pageants or Miss America, Miss Universe, they're going over. So they're having a good time. They're having to get to see a lot of folks. The Dallas cheerleaders, they are tremendous to the troops, and needless to say.
Yeah, I guess so. The Dallas cheerleaders. Hello, Joanie.
Exactly. Lifting the spirits of the American troops. That's the goal of the USO.
Lifting the spirits, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess so.
So we're still doing a lot that Bob Hope started. He's our legacy, and we're still doing a lot of that. But it's so important, too, that we take care of them here on the home front. With so many troops coming home today, whether they're coming home for their 15-day R&R or they're coming home for a time prior to, sadly, in many cases, being redeployed, we're here for them as well. So whether they come home and just want to spend time with their families, if they come home ill, injured, wounded, we're here for them as well.
The thing about the shows, though, anymore, you don't hear about them the same that when Bob Hope was doing them. Well, why is that, Joanie?
I think the glamour of that has gone away. It was so wonderful then, but today, with the way that our troops are trained and with the combat the way that it is, and the focus, it's just really changed a lot overseas. It's not that it's not as important, because the entertainment is very, very important, but just making sure that they have so many other things, whether it be for mental stability, health, and purposes on that line. That's more where you're going to see that now from the USO or for many of the organizations supporting the troops.
Sure. One of the things that I can remember hearing some shows that actually we used to have on one of our stations about the offices, the portable offices that they can set up and go in there and use. And I was amazed at all the things that portable, am I saying it right, cubicle office, whatever it was, that was fascinating.
Yeah, and we're still doing that, honestly, and we're doing some great stuff over there. The USO, we have USO in a Box, which is a really tremendous item. We actually have one now in South Carolina. We were able to bring one to Camp McCready. We kind of turned that into an entertainment system of its own, but when we bring those boxes, or now better yet as tents overseas, out to the forward operating bases, they can go in and they have the opportunity to Skype with their families. They have the opportunity to get on computers, play Xbox gaming systems, GI versus Pro. They get to play the pro players here in the States. So there's a lot of fun stuff happening over there for the troops to keep them entertained.
God, it sounds like we're overseas. I think that's a helicopter now going over.
They're coming for me.
Hey, Joanie.
They're coming to pick me up.
So have you been overseas on any of the trips?
I have not. I've not had that opportunity. I have my hands filled here in South Carolina. So maybe down the line there'll be that opportunity. But right now we're just taking care of them as they come home from overseas.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things I understand that when you're talking about coming home, you help whether it's deploying or bringing them home if they're wounded. Tell us a little bit about what you do on that score.
Well, on the wounded score,
all
the way through. Yes,
all
the way through. We're quite privileged because not only at Fort Jackson's the largest training installation there is now in the United States for basic training. So we have the pleasure and honor of each day as these young men and women come into the Columbia Metro Airport, like deer in headlights in many cases. We have the opportunity to welcome them to South Carolina, welcome them to their first ever USO, kind of get them a little bit prepared, listen to them, and send them off to basic training. When we have our deployments, which we do have, some are very large, some are smaller groups. As we have the opportunity to do that, we put together all kinds of care packages, phone cards, and different things that they may need on their journey to make sure that they're sent off in the best style that we can. When they come home for R&R, we're there in the airport to greet them and their families to make sure they have a comfortable place to relax and just to have a little bit of a breather. And then when they come home from their tours, based on their needs, when we're there as well for the homecomings, and we have a big one coming up this week with over 600 coming home, we're there again to make sure if we're not the resource that they need, that we can give them the resources, make sure that they have those names of those resources. And then sadly, or also very much an honor, when we do have our troops that are fallen heroes that come home, the USO is there as well for that, to make sure that their transfer back home to their families is done with dignity.
So, wow, that's tremendous. Now, you were telling me about how you get stuff that it's such a problem. We work with the Civil Air Patrol to get things overseas now because you were telling me about weight issues with the equipment they're taking. You used to send pallets of stuff over there. That's a problem now. So how do you deal with getting stuff into their hands?
It works really well. We have a lot of organizations or schools and kids that want to put together boxes, whether they be shoe boxes or what have you, and they'll bring them to the USO. And now that we don't have the funds to necessarily ship things, We will be there for the deployments. We will put them into different containers, all the different items. So whether it be toiletries, whether it be snacks, lip chapstick or sunscreens, we put those into different containers so as the troops can go through and put together their own customized little to-go bag or care package, if you will. So they'll take what they need and only what they need. And as I was sharing with you, I'm so fascinated because the troops are so good. They're not hoarders. They don't take advantage. And my goodness, if they take the last one, they share that with the battle buddy behind them. So it's really a blessing. So we're still able to get what is given to us, gets into the hands of the troops that are deploying. Most definitely we get it and we pay it forward. It's just not done in the shipping manner. It's in the manner that they can choose what they need and they take it with them.
Absolutely. Well, I think that is phenomenal. That I like the story where somebody took the last one and they split it with their buddy behind them there. I think that's terrific.
Yep.
You know, in the regular world, we would not see that.
100%, I agree with you.
You're right. Somebody took the last one, it would just be, sorry, I'm taking it.
Turn the other cheek and keep on going.
Exactly.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Well, we're going to hear a word from our sponsors. If you've got a question or you want to know how you can get involved, hey, just give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. We'll be right. That's right. We're back here with Joanie Thresher right here. She is the director of the USO down there in Columbia. Now, you're the director for the state?
Correct. I have
the state, yes. And as usual, everything surrounds around Columbia. Yes, you have to go to Columbia here. But you do lots of programs up in this area. If somebody was interested in having a program up here for them to come and talk at a group or something like that, that you would be the person they would contact.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I'm very mobile. So we have the entire state. I'm here for the state, for the troops, and we have them for our veterans, making sure that they know that we're here. We support them anytime that we can get involved. And I say we because I have volunteers up in this area as well that can speak on our behalf. So we have some advisory council members that are here in the Greenville area, just around the corner. Mm-hmm. So there's one of us, if not me, always happy to come out and to share our story.
That's great. That's great. So if one wanted to contact you at the USO, how would we do that?
There's two easy ways. One is to dial me direct, and that would be 803 area code, 404 1824. That is my cell number. You're welcome to call that anytime. Or you can go on our Facebook, or better yet, email me, which is jthresher, THRESHER, @USO.org. Or just Google USO South Carolina and I'll pop up.
You'll pop up. Well, now, Joanie, from what I'm understanding, at this point in your life, the USO is your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You told me your mom died a couple of years ago. And actually, she knows that you're doing what you want to do, and that gave her a lot of peace.
It gave her a lot of peace, and it was able to give me the peace to say, because she'd been sick for a long time, and she wanted to make sure I was happy and I was going to be well, and the USO fills all that for me, and I'm able to take care of others because this is my life. This is what I wake up to do every day and go to bed every night grateful that I was able to do what I do.
Well, that's tremendous. But tell us what types of things do you do down there? I mean, you were telling me, from the biggest to the smallest things, there's always something that there's a need, and it's always different.
Every day, every troop or family member that comes in has something. Sometimes it's as simple as just asking directions, and they feel safe coming to the USO to ask those. Other times, they just need a place to sit down and decompress. We get our young recruits or young soldiers and families that come in, and it's their goodbyes. It's their hellos and goodbyes. And we're there to be that comforting person for them. We have over 100 volunteers that give us their time and share their talent, their compassion, and their passion for the USO. And without all those individuals, we couldn't do that. But again, it's not just the homecomings and the new recruits and all those things in between. The deployments keep us quite busy, but we work with our partners, and our partners are many different sports teams that want to make sure they're doing fundraisers and getting the awareness out to the communities that they do have troops that are deploying and coming home, and not to forget them when you see them, to say thank you, and to make sure that they have what they need. We have a lot of veterans coming home that need jobs, and so we're out there trying to work with so many of our other organizations, making sure that those veterans have an opportunity to get a job and to better themselves. We got great folks. They just need the resources, and we are those resources. We're working every day, every single day, to try to make sure that we bring them what they need.
You know, you were telling me while we were off air there about the new recruits that come in with the deer in the headlight look, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, tell us that story there.
I have to share. It's just so precious because they will be coming in, as any of us would do, walking towards the coming off the secure side onto the non-secure side where the USO is at the Columbia Airport. And they kind of stop before they walk over the line. They're like, oh, goodness, because they see the sergeant standing there going, what have I done? Not because they regret that they're going into the military, but what is it going to be like? What do they need to expect at this point? So once they walk over that red line and they become ours, we make sure they know, first off, they get their last chocolate or their last fix at the USO prior to heading out to Fort Jackson or wherever they're going. So it's quite interesting. But they will tell us, we'll be giving them goodies and giving them the hospitality that they get here in South Carolina, making sure they know that they're loved and appreciated. And we had a kid last night raise his hand, and his right hand. He said, all I did was raise my right hand. Why are you all so nice to me? And we're like, honey, if you didn't do that, we don't know who would. We're thankful for you. So it's really very fun. But these young men and women, they come in, and some of them tell us all the time, without this, they never had a family. This is now going to be the family, their Army, their National Guard, whatever branch they're serving in.
Well, you were telling me after when they come back and they ask you, do you remember me?
Yeah, it's precious. They do. They'll come in and they'll have these baggy pants on and just a little long hair and what have you, and they'll come back 8, 10, 12 weeks later based on their training regimen, and they'll come in and say, Miss Joanie, do you remember me? And I'll say, oh my goodness, yes I do. And they say, I cleaned up and now I've got a real family. I'm cool. And they're good. They're proud. They're just so proud. And, of course, we're so proud of them.
You know, South Carolina is so big into military. It is only fitting that we have a super USO system in place right here in South Carolina.
Amen. And it was gone for a long time. We've been closed. There was a USO downtown that closed over 20 years ago. And thanks to so many wonderful people through the Midlands and here in the upstate that got together to say, listen, we need a USO. We have a lot of folks in this community that are military, retired military, or families of military. We need a USO. They rallied together. They opened what they call the Armed Forces Lounge, which is what we were originally, attracted the USO down here to take a look, and USO said, guess what, we need to be here. So we were very fortunate. This June will be 2 years that we've been open. We see over 6,500 troops a month through the Columbia Airport.
A month? A
month.
Wow.
A month. That's just who stops by the USO.
Right, because there's those that probably just keep walking.
They run because they know we're going to come get them. We're going to beg them to sit down and have something to snack on. They're like, leave me alone. So, like, come here. They're like, no, I'll get you next time. Yeah, we track them down.
Absolutely. That's great. Now, of course, though, there are things that you do for families, too.
There is.
And when we come back after we talk about after the news, we want to talk about what is done for families. I know you've brought some great letters from kids that we're going to share a little bit of that with you. But if you've got a question about what the USO does, why it's there in Columbia, if you'd like to ask Joanie a question, hey, just give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. We'd be happy to discuss the question and how you can get involved, whether it's you as an individual or you as a group. You know, the big thing about the USO, though, although it does help with veterans, its big service is to those that are active military, correct?
Correct.
So,
yeah. Taking care of the troops that are taking care of us today. We always will never forget our veterans, and without our veterans, we wouldn't be sitting here today. So
right.
We love our veterans and their families. But the mission for the USO is anyone that's serving today, training and serving today, we want to make sure we're there for they and their families.
That's great. All right, well, when we come back, we're going to be talking about some of the programs, some of the services that are available to families. I think a lot of people think only of the USO kind of as that entertainment venue, that Bob Hope, and all that jazz. So when we come back, we're going to talk more about it. Don't you go away. You stay right with us. South Carolina News is up. We'll be back in just one moment.
Arg, are you a pirate or a pack rat? Do you have a vacation of a lifetime sitting in the attic? Or a college tuition hung on a wall? Or is a fabulous retirement hidden in your jewelry box? Bring those items to Sharp Facets Gallery. We can establish value and buy from you or sell for you. And so ends another chapter at Sharp Facets Gallery, 72 Bypass, and on the web, sharpfacets.com.
Oh, that's right. We're back. And we're here with Joanie Thresher, and we are having a good time just talking about all the great things the USO does. Jeff was just back here talking about the differences in the USO when he was in Vietnam and everything. But the one thing that he said, the USO was there. And I think that's one thing that people say today, the USO is there.
That's the most special moment when we hear that.
Absolutely.
From all of our veterans, today's service members and their families, the USO was there.
Absolutely. So, and we had a William Sprouse call, and he's had spent 30 years in the military, retired services, worked with the USO almost daily. And he was talking about how they were, when they were fighting in Europe, I think he said some of the shows, they knew more about the shows. It was more public. And today, I guess I can understand that because we are under such, I'll say, attack and from kind of undesirable. If they knew some of these things, it would make it a lot more difficult. So you can understand that, why it's not as public as it once was. Yeah. So thanks for calling in today, William Sprouse, and thank you for your service here to the military. We appreciate it. So we got a lot of things that are happening that help families too. It's not just about those in the service, it's about their families too, isn't it, Joanie?
Absolutely. We want to make sure that they're not forgotten. So in our local communities with our local USOs, depending on where we are throughout the country, we have all different programs. They kind of fit that particular city or state that they're in. But the universal programs that the USO are doing, many of them are for our children. And a couple of them that are so important, and one that's just crazy wild fun, is the Sesame Street that USO has partnered with, that they have for the children. Sesame Street Live, they actually do the show for the kids, talking about within their show, making it fun and lively and exciting, but how they miss their parents and that their parents miss them. And the new character, Katie, that came in, she's one of our USO characters within the Sesame Street tour. That kind of really talks to the kids about, not being lonely and knowing that mommy and daddy are doing well and that life is good and they're all going to be back together soon. So it's a really special program. The USO South Carolina will have it here this year at the end of the year, and we'll have that posted on our website when it comes available, but it will be towards the October-November time frame.
Well, you'll have to make sure we know so that we can put it out there, because I do a message thing every day, so it'd be great if you could let us know. I
will make sure that you have that, Ann. Thank you. Another one we do is Trevor Romaine, and Trevor Romaine, again, is a program not only through the USO, it's its own program, 501c3, that the USO is partnered with. And Trevor Romaine goes into the schools and into communities to actually face-to-face talk to these groups of children about how they feel, getting them to talk about what it's like without their mom or dad at home, or their sister and brother in many cases at home. And he kind of helps them through that. A lot of it's dealing with bullies, and maybe bullies in their school and how they're dealing with that. We've had kids actually tell us after he's been there that they realize now why they're being a bully and they no longer want to be a bully. So he goes out and does some really tremendous things. There's DVDs that he provides for these kids and for these schools and operations, and they just love it. He's a tremendous asset. And then one of my very favorite programs from the USO is United Through Reading. And the United Through Reading program actually allows a troop that is deployed, so at our overseas USOs, they have an opportunity to go in and utilize this program, or prior to deployment, they can come in. We have a well-equipped room, very decorated and nice, sponsored actually by North American Rescue up in Greenville. But they come in, they select a book, they go into a private setting, they read this book and record them reading that book either to their child or children. That book then gets sent home as a surprise to that child. When they open it, they have a DVD of that parent reading to them, talking to them, coaching them, and just sharing their love with them. So that way they can stay connected both visually with the face of their troop that's now deployed and with that voice. So when they come home or when they call, they're not scared. It keeps them connected, so it's a great thing.
Absolutely. One of the things, of course, I had Barbara Livingston on, and I've had General Livingston on, but one of the things that's so tough for our National Guard is they are just part of the community. It's not like, what did Barbara and I talk to, Army wives. Correct. It's not like that. You're not living on a base. You are living in the community. And a lot of people don't understand how tough it is if it's the mom left with the children. And so that's nice that the USO is there. But how does the USO work in communities where there is that type of National Guard, not really Army type? Columbia, it's easy, I would think, because you are surrounded.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we work a lot with the family readiness groups, so the FRGs are what those are called. And so we have our contacts up here in this area as well. So whether they be in some of our more remote areas of South Carolina or if they're sitting in some of the larger cities, we work with the FRGs to find out for, again, the deployments, the homecomings, any events that they're doing, yellow ribbon events, preparing for their troops to come home. And then, again, making sure that these programs that we just talked about are available today and to their children. So we offer a lot of different little things with that, whether it be gift cards that are given to us to pay forward to these families so they can get a night out on the town, get a babysitter, go to a dance, go to a dinner, just something to kind of break up that day-to-day routine. It's really tough for them, and you're right, they are living and working in our communities. Many of us know them and don't even know sometimes.
And I think the children suffer the same way because they are in the school systems, and there may only be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. There's not a large group of them.
You're exactly right. In many cases, they're the ones that are going through so many tough times that we just need to extend that extra hand or a extra hug to let them know that it's going to be okay.
Absolutely. So those are some of the programs that are there. Now, what services do you work with those that are wounded?
Well, we do a lot of referral programs for that. The USO, again, we never say that we're specialized in any of these areas. Again, most of us are volunteers, or most of our force is volunteers. I, of course, am not. I'm lucky to be paid by the USO, but most of our forces are volunteers. Amen. But I did serve as a volunteer for a long time. But the niceties is that we have so many groups, and I'll use the National Guard as for instance. We work with Mrs. Livingston, General Livingston, Ronnie Taylor, which I believe is going to be on your show soon, Colonel Taylor. We work with many of them that then hand us the resources that they want us to direct their groups to. So whether it be Military One Source, whether it be some of the other agencies that are out there for the wounded, ill and injured, we make sure that they have those resources to go to. If the USO can step in any way, and sometimes we can, then we make sure that we have those resources available to them. But most of the time it's making sure they know where to go.
Where to go.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's a big part of what you all do. You are located in Columbia at the airport. Have you been to the airport in Columbia recently? Well, you ought to just stop on by and check it out, right?
Oh, amen. It's a beautiful airport. Great partners, and most of all, they give the space to the USO, so they take care of the troops and families that are traveling through our area. And with that, we can never give enough thanks. Dan Mann is the director there, and man, he's a rockin' man, so he takes good care of us.
Did you hear that? You're a rockin' man.
Not rocket, but rocking.
All right. Well, we are having a good time here at Sharp Facets Gallery. We're talking with Joanie Thresher. She is the director for the USO here in South Carolina. If you have a question or a comment, something, maybe you were helped by the USO at one time and you'd like to share that story with us right now, we'd love to hear from you. So give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. You know, Jeff was just back here talking about when he was in Vietnam and how the USO certainly was there and certainly was a force for all the guys there. And you know, you made an important comment here. You know, when our guys came home from Vietnam, they were not welcomed. They were not thought of as the good guys.
Correct.
And now we go a full step to make sure that our guys coming home, and you even told me you have volunteers that want to make sure that our guys coming home know how much they're appreciated.
Anna, honestly, 90% of our volunteers, the volunteer workforce that we have, are veterans from the Vietnam era, whether they served or their family members or they were sisters or brothers to ones that did, fallen heroes as well. And they're the ones that are serving today as far as being our volunteers. They tell us they don't want these troops today to go through the sadness and the disgrace and loneliness that they went through. They're there to make sure with their hands open saying thank you, hugs and appreciation, and it's good for them, as they tell me. It's good therapy for them, but most importantly, they do not want today's troops to suffer the way that they've suffered.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I am Ann Eller. I'm here with Joanie Thresher, director of the USO. We're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors. Don't you go away. Oh, that's right. We're right here at Sharp Facets Gallery on the 72 bypass, and we are here with Joanie Thresher right here. She is the director of the USO right here for the whole state of South Carolina. Their offices are located at the airport, the Columbia Airport, and if you are down in Columbia, you should stop by. She is so proud of the area. And who's that rockin' guy?
Dan Mann.
Dan Mann, the rockin' man. All right. He is the
he's the executive director of the Columbia Metro Airport. Yes,
that's right. And he's made it so that you guys can be right there when the guys get on the plane and when they get off the plane, and that is terrific.
It is indeed. We couldn't do what we do if we didn't have that space. So that's the beginning of it.
Sure. So, one of the things that you brought with you today, you brought some letters from kids. Now, these kids who are these children that we have letters from here?
Well, today the letters I brought are actually, we have so many of our educators throughout the state, and they either are spouses of or sisters, brothers, families of heroes that are serving right now overseas. So during special events, or if they're putting together goodie boxes to give to the USO, many times they'll have their students, whether they're in kindergarten all the way up, write letters or draw pictures and letters for the troops. So what we do is we send them over in batches to the troops. But many of these letters we like to read because they're so inspiring and so precious and so innocent, and also in some cases just very entertaining. So from the mouth of a babe, as they would say, you know.
Sure.
So we appreciate them, the artwork and the letters. But anyone out there that has students or kids, whether again if it's drawing pictures or writing letters to the troops, the USO loves to get them. I come in this area. I'm up in the Greenville, Greenwood, any of these areas. I'm here at least 3 times a month, if not once a week. So if you have some, you want us to pick them up, we'll make arrangements to pick them up and get them to the troops. So they really do appreciate them.
Well, that'd be great. That'd be great.
But the ones I brought today, some of them are quite entertaining, as you've read, and it just makes the troops smile. They are so excited when they get these letters.
Okay, I have one that we want to read here. Dear soldier, thank you for saving our world. I have a toy soldier. You are doing a great job on our, what was this word? You're doing a great job on our
Country.
On our country. I hope you don't die. I mean, how much more elemental can it be?
Yes, and this one's actually a first grader.
Yes.
And this school, actually, when they sent these to us, it was right towards the end of the year that they did them. The teacher got them to us just recently. And so now this student is actually, going up in their grade. But she actually is a parent of a soldier, and so she had her students write these, and we are sending them off as we send packages or give packages to the troops as they depart to go overseas. And they get the biggest kick, the most smiles. Some of them cry because they see them and it reminds them of their children, but they're so appreciative to be receiving these.
Yeah.
It's terrific.
I guess, one of the things that we should mention is, we have so many, not only young people that are deployed, but we have those that are going back and back and back. You were telling me about some that have gone back. How many times?
We actually had a chief that was in yesterday. He's in Air Force. Mm-hmm. And when I asked him, he was sharing with me, he came home before he deploys again. And I said, well, what does again mean? And he said this will be his 16th deployment.
Unbelievable.
16th. But then he said, well, it sounds worse than it is, as I must have been pale.
Your eyes were wide open there.
And I said, okay, and how could that be? And he said, well, with the Air Force, our deployments are 4 to 6 months on a standard. But this one will be for 1 year. So really, it's only my 9th deployment. What they're giving up and their families are giving up every single day to fight for us so that I can sit here and be here with you today is absolutely amazing. It's just amazing. And they're proud to do it.
It is amazing that we have our military that is willing to do that. And, of course, right now the military is going through a lot of cuts. We have a lot coming home. It's got to be difficult for them to find jobs. And, I think one of the most difficult things in my mind is the fact that when they come home, the whole family has to readjust that living arrangement together, because wives or the husband that's been at home has been sitting there taking care of handling everything. Now this person comes back in, and things that were shared, they had to learn to do them themselves. So it takes an adjustment to get back everything together, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The reintegration process is just that, it is a process. Fortunately, the government has realized that, the military, a while back, and they're doing a much better job in helping in this side. But it's still difficult. You'll never know what's going on in that individual's head or in that family's head. So it's very, very difficult. There's nothing easy about that. But again, for so many of the troops, they say it's easier for them to stay overseas and be shot at every day than it is to come home and have to reintegrate. Not because they don't love their families. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Well, but they're just so afraid to come back. It's really very nerve-wracking for them when they've been in the desert that long, and that's all they've gotten to know, and they're with their battle buddies. To come back home and start over, it's very difficult for them. So it's good when the public realizes that their neighbor has come home, or someone at their church or someone at their school has a family member that's come home, because it's tough for them.
And I think on TV we see all the glorified homecomings. We see the dad that comes into the school, and everybody is the thrill and everything. But then after all that, it's working out how we all get along and live as a family again.
All over again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've had troops tell us before that they were so frustrated because they got home and their spouse had moved the spatula.
Yeah.
Moved the spatula. But, you know, we just wonder sometimes, like, wow, I can't imagine. What else? What about the couch and the TV? And I mean that with the utmost respect. I cannot imagine. So it has to be so difficult. And again, as a USO and as an individual that's, you know, blessed and honored to work with the USO and the troops and families, I just sit there and go, my goodness, my life is so good, and I owe it all to them again. And I just wonder how hard all of this must be for them. So very difficult.
And you know, I think the big message here today is, though, that the USO is independent. It is a nonprofit organization. And so, of course, being able to get some help, whether it's on the small, you know, but the thing about it is the USO benefits, whether it's small gifts, shall we say, or the bigger gifts. Sometimes I think we all think, oh, my $20, my little package here would never mean enough. What do you say, Joanie?
That is so not true.
But we feel
absolutely.
that way. Yes.
We do.
Yeah.
I did prior to ever being involved with the USO. I never thought that the gift that I could give at that time would mean as much as it does. But for the USO here in South Carolina, when someone drops off a case of water to us, they make that donation, that's 24 to 32 people that we can give a bottle of water to. That's huge. Huge. Right now at Walgreens, they have it on sale for $2.79 for a 24-pack of water. Who knew? You know?
Right.
That's making a difference for the USO. So if you had $3 in your pocket and you wanted to make a difference, you could. If you want to give a larger gift, we need it. Monetary donations go a huge way for the USO. Again, making sure that we have what the troops need, being able to furnish they and their families with a night out or something special along those lines. But a donation of candy bars, a donation of sunflower seeds, any of those things make a huge difference for the USO and the troops that we serve. Everything's nonprofit. The government does not fund the USO. The military does not fund the USO. You, sitting here, your listeners, you are the ones that keep us open, and thank you for that.
Absolutely. Well, we are just so pleased to have you here, and I know that now that we've had you on the radio once, we probably can get you back again.
As often as you'd like.
Okay. And we're going to be talking about some projects right here. I understand the one and only Kerry Bolt is on his way over here to be able to talk to you for a few minutes. We are going to have a great veteran center here, and I know being able to have a presence with the USO here would be excellent. So we're looking forward to working with you on that. Programs for families, there are lots of them. Again, Joanie, how do people get a hold of the USO in Columbia?
You can go, if you have a computer handy, you can go to USO South Carolina. It'll pop up with all of our information. But feel free anytime to give me a phone call on my cell phone, which is area code 803-404-1824. I'm there for you. The USO's there for you and your families. Feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to come down and see us at any time. Or when we're here, we'll make sure that Ann knows so she can let all of you know that we're here taking care of troops and families.
Absolutely. That would be terrific. If you would let me know and we could get the word out there, we would love to do it. Now, of course, you know, again, I'm going on an honor flight May 23rd, and I'm going to be so excited, and I'm going to want to talk to you because I'm going to have Mike. We'll be doing all these interviews, and just you told me to make sure I bring some tissues. Is that
Yes,
right?
Bring tissues. It's so precious. It's so wonderful and so fulfilling. And we'll be there to send you off that morning. We'll be back when you come back. But if you haven't cried, I'll be checking your pulse to make sure you're okay. Because it's just the most precious thing ever. I mean, the stories, the day, it's wonderful. And Bill Dukes and his organization with Honor Flight, they're just amazing people. What they're doing is really terrific, and we're there to support them as well.
Absolutely. Now let me just say this. Kerry Bolt told me this story about taking a group of veterans down to Columbia for something. I don't remember what it was. They all got in the van, and they were old and crabby and, you know, being grumpy old men. Mm-hmm. It wasn't 20 minutes that he was driving them down, and all of a sudden they were swapping stories and acting like they were 20.
Yes.
And I guess you're telling me the same type of thing happens.
Oh, yes. You're going to feel left out.
I'm going to feel left out.
You're going to feel left out. You're going to want to be there. And they'll interject you into their conversation and story. So you'll actually kind of feel like you were there, but you're going to say, wow, what did I miss? What a great group of individuals. And then all the sponsors that are there, or anyone that's there on the media side like yourself, really, you're going to have the best day you've ever had. It's just tremendous.
This is excellent. Well, listen, Joanie, I am so glad to meet you finally and have you on the show here. And I know we're going to be working with the USO right here in Greenwood, getting you more exposure right here, but also letting people know what's going on, whether it's here in Greenwood, Columbia, Greenville, wherever it's at. We are out of time. Has that Kerry Bolt man made it here? Well, I don't know, but we're going to talk to him in just a minute right here. So I'm coming back in just a second with, Happy Hour with Ann, but I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to talk with her for a second, and I'm going to talk with Kerry. So this is WCRS right here in Greenwood. We'll be back. Don't you go away.